wants to start doing it. What do you guys think? They said, look, let's set some standards. Let's not sleep with our boyfriends for 6 months. And if he can hold out no sex for that long, then I know he loves me, and then we'll sleep together. And now she looks back and thinks 6 months? 6 months is the price I put on my body. 6 months of his time, attention, phone calls, that's love. So he held out for 6 months. They started sleeping together. He really lost respect for her. He started cheating on her, abusing her, physically abusing her in front of other guys who weren't man enough to protect her. Started emotionally abusing her. Girl, you're so fat, you're so stupid, you're so ugly. Stupid? She got straight A's in college. Fat and ugly? The girl was a kickboxer, voted the prettiest girl in the high school of 3,000 students. But he had her convinced she was fat and ugly. She was miserable. She said, those Saturday nights, she said, all my friends would say to me, it's all fun and games. But she said, you wake up the next morning and the fun and games are over. She said, I woke up sitting in my bathroom, flipping over my pregnancy test, scared to death. But she said, then I go to school that morning with the biggest mask on my face. Oh, I'm so happy. Put a mask on for my parents, one for church, one for the boys, one for my friends. She said, I was so sick of being fake. I don't know any way out. Her mom found her birth control pills. Said, look, you're going to a chastity talk. She goes, no, I'm not going to your stupid sex talk. I heard those before. Mom's like, I don't care. You're going. Forces her to go. I don't know who gave her the talk. It wasn't me. But she said that guy got up there, and the 1 hour I just sat still, she said, my life did a 180. She said, the guy was so honest, blunt, and real. He didn't judge any of us. But she said, you know, it felt like he took my hand out of the audience and walked through my whole life with me. He had done all the stuff I had done, all sex, smoking, drinking. But she said he had something I didn't have, and I wanted it back. He wasn't ashamed of himself. He had a backbone. I wanted that. So after the talk, she went up to him, and they talked for a while, and she took his advice, start over. She went to the sacrament of reconciliation to get a clean soul, and then she wrote the list. 60 things she dreamed of in a future husband. Why never again would she settle for less? And then that weekend, the guys called her up. Hey girl, want to hook up? We're going over to Andre's house. She wasn't stupid. She knew what they're after. So for the first time in her life, she turned them down. And she stayed home a little lonely. And then she wrote her first love letter to her future husband. I said no to them tonight out of love for you. I'm respecting my body this night out of respect for you. I can't wait for the day we're going to meet. With all my hopes and prayers and dreams, she signs it. Next weekend, they called her back. Hey girl, where you been? Trying to be too good for us? They tried to make her feel guilty for taking care of herself for once. She turned them down again. Another love letter. Every time she was tempted to go back that life, she'd read the old letters and write a new one. And she got stronger. And the stack of letters got thicker and thicker and thicker. Now, why do you think I know all this stuff about that girl? It's because she's the girl who gave me every single one of those letters on our honeymoon when I married her 7 years ago. It's my bride. And thank you. And she's my wife, the mother of my kids. Like, can you imagine how grateful I am? She started waiting for me. Could you imagine what my life would be like today if she heard that one talk in high school and she blew it off? Chastity, abstinence, what a joke, not for me. You think I ever would have met her? You think my marriage would exist? Do you think the little baby boy we just had 5 months ago would exist? Or my beautiful little girl I got this little girl, she's a princess, she's perfect. I have biblical evidence from the Bible that my daughter is perfect. You laugh. In the Bible, the number for perfection is the number 7. My little girl, born on 7/07/07 at 7:07 in the morning. No kidding, man. I'm serious. Yeah, I know. I planned that. And it was sweet. Like, when we found out that we were pregnant, specifically her, you go to the doctors, you do a little ultrasound, see a little dude on the TV screen, and the very first one, the babies were as tall as a grain of rice, and you just watch their heart beating. It was awesome. Most of the ultrasounds stink. You couldn't see anything. I'm like, is that his head? They're like, that's his butt. I'm like, oh, like his dad. But now they have high-tech ultrasounds called 4D. They can now zoom in on your kid's face in color, live, 3D videos. They have videos now of children in the mother's wombs apparently laughing at something in there before they're ever born. And my wife and I, we got one of these ultrasounds of our son. He's 5 years old now, but during the ultrasound, he's as small as your cell phone. But then you zoom in on his little face, and this is what he looked like in my wife's womb 5 months before he was ever born. And it's like, do you get the point though? This guy's whole life depended on a decision his mother made in high school to turn her life around. And when we got married, yes, I was a virgin when we got married. And you couldn't have paid me $1 million to give it to anyone but my bride. She was not a virgin, but she was worth the wait. She knew it. I would have waited for until I was 50 to realize you're worth the wait. She started over. A lot of ways I did too. We don't want to end up divorced. So we did 3 things that'll decrease your divorce rate. First thing, we would not live together before we get married. You know how couples do that today? Shacking up, cohabit, play house, test drive the whole thing, then get married? Yeah, go watch how they do. In America, they're twice as likely to end up getting divorced. Why? They say, we need to see if we're compatible with each other. Trust me on this one. If she's a girl and you're a guy, trust me, you are not compatible. I figured that out so fast in marriage. You see who's laughing, all the old people. They know what I'm talking about. Dude, I knew we weren't compatible a week after we got married. We get back from our honeymoon, she moves all her stuff into my bathroom. Do you know what happens when a girl gets in a guy's bathroom when you get married? It's called a hostile takeover, all right? Because guys' bathrooms are perfect. Soap, shampoo, all you need. Yeah, she moves into town. I counted at one point, she had 27 different bottles of things in our shower, like 24. She has like pumice foot polish, like kneecap remover. She has this body wash. It says exfoliating body wash with raspberry, melon, apricot, kiwi, pork chop, applesauce. I'm like, oh, salad dressing. Put some balut in there. And it's like, and then they got razor blades everywhere. At one point, she had 7 razor blades. I'm like, that's enough to shave an orangutan. It's like what I married, Kong. And then I go in there once. She had these little blue packages, and it said lemon sage body butter. I'm like, body butter? What is that? Guys aren't into this. Like, Chris, do you have body butter at home? Don't answer the question. But the point is that in marriage, you're not gonna be compatible. And that's just because girls are weird and guys are entirely normal, but that's obvious. But you're not gonna be compatible. But guess what? You better get ready and deal with it. Well, how? Sacrifice. Sacrifice? How am I supposed to know how to do that? It's like, well, guess what? Chastity, you get married, sacrifice is nothing new because you've been doing it for each other for years. So that's the first thing we didn't shack up. Second thing, we didn't sleep together before we got married. If I had sex with Kristalina before I married her, I'd be lying to her because my body would be telling her one thing. Oh, I've given myself totally to you. I'm all yours. Look, if I'm not the woman's husband, the embrace of sex is a lie. A movie came out where Tom Cruise had sex with Cameron Diaz. Afterwards, she said to him, don't you know when you make love to a woman, your body is making a promise to her whether you do or not. The promise of sex is I am all yours. And if they're not married, it isn't true. And some guys will tell me, oh, but what if it's not like that? Some cheap one-night stand and you're drunk all over her. What if you really care about this girl? How come you can't sleep with her if you really love her? Really love her. What's it mean to love a girl? It means you do what's best for her. Is it best for her to wake up tomorrow? Am I pregnant? Is my mom gonna find out? You know, I spoke at a high school once that had 87 girls pregnant on campus. That didn't include the grade 7 and 8 students, brought the number of pregnancies over 100. But could you imagine what sex would be like if boys were the ones who could get pregnant? I'd like to see that. I mean, you know, I can see all the high school football players saying to the girlfriends, oh, I'm not ready for sex. Coach would kill me if I got pregnant on the football team next year. You know, oh my, I can't run down the field like that. That's not gonna work. But he'll just let her go through the fear. What do you think her future's not important as his is? And some guys will tell me, oh man, well, I'm telling you, I really love this girl I'm sleeping with. Look, if a guy loves a girl who he's sleeping with, how come if they're in bed together at her house and her dad comes home, the guy will jump out of like a 5-story window rather than face her dad? I know, this happened to a friend of mine. My friend John, he's over at my friend Michelle's house. They're up in her bedroom messing around. They weren't even supposed to be seeing each other. Her dad was supposed to be out of town on business. He comes home early, sees John's car in front of his house. Whoa, boom, he busts. He's coming upstairs. They hear him coming upstairs. My friend John is freaking out because he's trapped. There's nowhere to go. So he's like, where can I hide? He's like in your closet, in the microwave. Where can I fit? There's nowhere to go. Now, Michelle's bed is like 6 inches off the ground. So he's like, honey, I'm going under there. And he dives under the bed and he wiggles under the mattress. And he's like, and the bed's like moving up and down in his chest. And the dad busts the door open, boom.
Where's John?
Now, Michelle, she's real smooth. Michelle's like, John who? It's like, sweetheart, the bed's levitating behind you. There's a clue. So dad comes up in bed, looks underneath it. Oh yeah, my friend John is on the floor in the corner shivering like a rat under the bed. It's like, what is he doing there? I mean, if he really loves this girl, why does he know, boy, you better hide from the man who loves her the most? Because he knows in the depths of his heart that this has nothing to do with love and sacrifice. It's about lust and pleasure. If it were about love, how proud he'd be to show the father how he loves the daughter. But as it is, he hides. Why is her dad like that? So uptight and protective? Because he's not naive. He knows the price she's gonna pay. They studied here 10,000 girls. When a girl starts having sex, what happens in her life? Now they studied girls from the ages of 12 to 26. They found if a girl starts having sex when she's 12, that's like year 7 or whatever, those girls on average go on to sleep with about 21 different guys in her life. If she starts having sex when she's 13 or 14, she'll probably have about 14 lifetime sexual partners. Starts having sex at 15 or 16, she'll probably have 8, next one's 7. Numbers go down according to how long she waits for sex. But unless she turns her life around, the girl is now more likely to have more breakups, STDs, out of wedlock pregnancy, become a single mom, live under the poverty level, have a divorce, have an abortion, be depressed. This goes on and on. The longer a girl waits for sex, the happier her life will be. And it doesn't mean you'll have a terrible life, you're not a virgin. My wife's happy. All it means, how can men learn this and think they're loving a woman by exposing her to this? And with Crystal and I, this is not why we save sex for marriage. You think we practice chastity because of this? It's like, well, honey, I'm afraid of increasing your rates of living under the poverty level, honey. We certainly can't do that tonight. I mean, no. The reason we waited is simple. It's because I love her, and love can wait to give, but lust can't wait to get. If you're sexually active right now, or just doing sexual stuff, take it out, and you'll see if it's real love. We did a big public high school in America, 1,000 freshmen, 1,000 sophomores. After the assembly, the senior runs in the assembly hall. And he's like, dude, who told my girlfriend all about abstinence? I was like, me. And he's like, man. I go, what's the matter? And it turns out he was a senior and his girlfriend is a freshman. He was one of these older guys who doesn't have enough social skills to date a girl his own age, so he tries to get lucky with the little ones. But what's the deal with you girls and older guys? Like, how many of you girls in here are 16 years old? Put your hands up, 16-year-old girls. Put your hands up. You're a boy, we'll work on that later. Girls, 16-year-old girls, put your hands up. Keep them up there. How many of you girls are currently pursuing a 13-year-old boy? Oh, I'm proud of you. Now, how come girls laugh at that? But if a guy's older, she doesn't think twice. First reason it happens is girls mature faster than guys do. And I know you girls are thinking, oh, that's a shocker. But you think about it. She sometimes gets bored of the boys her own age. But then along comes Mr. College Guy to the high school girl. She thinks, oh, he's older than me, he likes me. But what ends up happening, she doesn't realize some of these guys know what to say to a girl. They'll say, girl, I would never pressure you to do anything sexually that you're not ready for. I totally respect that. And even if we didn't do it tonight, that's okay, I just like being with you. And she's like, oh, you see, he's so sweet. But if you watch it, he'll sexually take from her everything she's willing to give him. He doesn't guard her innocence, he's wearing it down. He's not a spiritual leader, he's like a spiritual midget, but she can't tell. Her girlfriends tell her, can't you see he's bad for you? It's like she's deaf. She's like, I know he has problems, but he smells good, so I can't break up with him. I don't know what to do. And she just gets burned. But when it's real love, I will tell you, real love will bring you closer to everybody who loves you. Your family, your friends, and God. When it's not real love, you just get plucked away from all three. Remember that guy? Ran in the auditorium? Who told my girlfriend about abstinence? I go, me, what's the matter? He goes, man, he said, I just saw my girlfriend in the hallway after your talk. She looked all happy. So I said, where you been the last hour? And she said, oh, enjoying my new purity. And he said, so I came in here to see what happened to her. I go, well, you can sleep with her again one day. Marry her. He goes, oh. I go, isn't she worth waiting for? He goes, no. It's the love test. Only if a girl has that virtue of purity will she be able to weed out the boys who do not deserve her. And I promise you girls, the boys are gonna come saying they love you, but this will test them. Sometimes it proves his love. One guy came up to me about 2 months ago. He said, Jason, he said, after your talk, He said, I went back to class, and he said, I couldn't hear anything the teacher was saying, and because my mind was so locked in on what you said. And he said, but after your talk, he said, honestly, he said, I've been having sex with this girl at the college. He says, you know what? I really love her. He said, I'm serious. I can see my whole life ahead of me with her. But he said, we've been having sex. And he said, I know we shouldn't be doing that. And he said, so this is what I did for her during class to show her what she means to me. And he said, I don't know if you're going to think I'm corny for doing this, but I wanted to show you. Opens up his notebook, and there's a piece of paper filled front and back with all his handwriting. And at the top of the paper, it said 100 ways to love Kelsey without having sex anymore. He emailed me 3 days later, and he said, I'm almost done with the 100 things. I'm gonna turn it into 1,000. He said, thanks, man. This is gonna make all the difference in the long run. Could you imagine the stability of a man's marriage if he knows 1,000 forms of intimacy before becoming sexual? The problem is we got so many weak marriages because we learn only one form of intimacy, sexual, and we know no other way of appreciating and expressing love to a woman. And so purity will prove love. And I promise you, girls, some boys are gonna say to you, girl, if you love me, if you really love me, you do it with me. You give it to me if you love me. Girl, do you know that if he loved you, he wouldn't be asking for it in the first place? And if you love him, you can't give him what he wants because you're afraid of losing him. That's not love, it's insecurity. Love doesn't give people whatever they want. I came downstairs looking for my kids once. I'm like, hey guys, where are you? Silence. I'm like, come on, that's not funny. John Paul, Colby, Mary, where are you? Silence. Now when my kids are quiet, it means they're either sleeping or doing something illegal. Those are the only options we have on the table. I know they're up no good. I look in the kids' kitchen. One of the kids, it looks like, put a chair against the refrigerator, climbed up it, opened up the door, went in the freezer, and there was a gallon of ice cream missing from the freezer. And I'm like, I know who that is, Colby, the 5-year-old. I'm like, Colby, I know where he is. I go in the kids' playroom. I look underneath the slide. Sure enough, under the slide, we have this little cave. Sure enough, in the cave, there he is, fat monster. He's completely naked, eating the gallon of ice cream out of his lap. I'm like, oh, I'm like, give it to me. He's like, oh, here comes dad. I grab his fat little ankles. I'm pulling on his butt on the floor. He's still sliding on the butt, scooping it in. And, I pull it away. I'm like, give that to me. He pulls it back. He's like, you don't love me. I'm like, I don't love you? I'm like, you're lactose intolerant. I'm like, you'd be on the toilet for a week if I let you eat that much, boy. Of course I love you. Because I love you, you can't have what feels good because it just isn't good for you. It's the same principle behind abstinence. Abstinence, chastity, purity. Why do you think my wife and I, 3 days before we got married, we're still not having sex? It's like, come on, you guys are gonna get married anyway, why wait? Why did we wait? Was it because of fear? Oh no, you think we were going on dates afraid of sexuality? You think I dated my fiance thinking, oh, well, I can't have sex with her. I'm gonna get pregnant, die of an STD, and go to hell. I can't do that. I mean, no. Pregnancies are real, STDs are real, hell is real, but perfect love ought to cast out all fear. Purity for a man, it's not about following a bunch of rules so you don't go to hell. It's about wanting heaven for the woman that you love. And if you can get that, boy, you get the big picture. So that's the second thing we did, saved it for marriage. Third thing for solid marriage. One of the beauties of self-control, you don't even have to worry about birth control. Even in marriage, no way on God's green earth will I put my wife's body on that junk. How disrespectful. What is her fertility? A disease? Oh yeah, let me give her some drugs and pills to make her more available for me. I mean, high school girls, you're so lied to about birth control. You know what they don't tell girls when they get birth control? Does they ever say to you, hey, sweetheart, here's your birth control pills, and before you take them in the morning, you might want to know you're increasing your risk of developing breast cancer with every birth control pill you take. Some doctor's like, that's not true. Really? Not true. Well, then why does the companies that make birth control admit that it's true? The Mayo Clinic, the World Health Organization openly admits that it's true. But they don't tell the girls that. Oh, you don't want the pill? Okay, let's give you girls the shot. It's called Depo-Provera. And before they stick the needle in you girls, make sure they tell you the company that makes Depo-Provera is being sued for more than $700 million because it thins out the girls' bones. They got girls in America now, 20 years old, with the bones of a 60-year-old woman in their body because they took Depo for too many years as a teenager. And in California, if you're a child molester or a rapist, you know what they do to you? They put your butt in prison where you belong. And you know how they punish you when you're there? I love it. According to the California government website, sex offenders in California now may be punished by Depo-Provera treatment. And the prisoner shall continue getting injections to the treatments no longer necessary. They inject child molesters with girls' birth control in California. Why? It'll reduce his desire for sex. But you know who they won't give it to now? Dogs. Veterinarians refuse to give it to dogs. They said that is not safe enough to give to our house pets. But they'll give it to any girl for birth control. Big thing they have now is a birth control patch. It's a little sticker the girl puts on. Hormones go through her skin, and it's killed more than 23 girls in America so far. Oh, you don't want the patch? Let's give you girls something new called Implanon. It's a plastic stick about this long, real thin like a matchstick. They just cut the girl's arm open, slide it under your skin, sew your skin shut, and it sinks hormones into your beautiful body so you don't get pregnant. And if you're interested in that, I've got the information right here that comes with the drug. It says, ladies on Implanon, call your doctor right away. If you start coughing up blood, you go completely blind or unconscious. Like, what? It's like, how's she supposed to make the phone call? Has anyone seen my cell phone around here? It's like, you kidding me? Coughing up blood? Dude, what was so wrong with their fertility in the first place? I mean, your fertility, girls, is a gift. It's not some kind of disease. I asked a bunch of high school guys once, hey guys, what's the #1 sexually transmitted disease? One guy was like, ooh, I know, pregnancy. I'm like, no. I'm like, kids are good. And this whole idea of pushing birth control on the young people, I mean, that bill that's heading down its way towards you, the reproductive health bill, man, you got no idea what this will do to a country. I know, because I've been around the world. And the groups are just pushing it against all these countries, and everywhere it gets in, the same thing happens. And they sell it to you, oh, well, we need to offer women more reproductive health choices, and it will help with poverty. Really? Well, how much does a birth control pill really fill up your stomach? Is that really a good meal? Well, no. Well, you see, poverty will be better because there will be smaller families. Oh, really? Is that the solution to poverty? Getting rid of innocent, poor children? No, I'll tell you, the solution to poverty is to get rid of the corrupt, rich politicians. That's the solution to poverty. And so, and they make you feel so little. Oh, little Philippines. Oh, you third world country. You need to grow up like us developed nations, the United States of America, and we will show you how to have reproductive health. Really? Oh, Mr. Obama, you want to teach other countries about reproductive health? Well, how about we stop aborting 3,700 babies every single day? I think that would help, have a little more authority on reproductive health. Oh, the birth control in America? Out of control. So many women are on birth control. Do you know who's having problem having little babies now? Fish. That's right, not making this up. Hormonal birth control passes through a woman's body into the bathroom. The sewage goes into the water treatment plants. Water treatment facilities are not capable of filtering out the synthetic sex hormones of female contraceptive pills and shots and implants. So the hormones of synthetic sex things like progesterone and estradiol, all this stuff, get into the water system and they get inside the fish. Now we have in America sterile fish, transgender fish, not making this up. They've got male fish, female reproductive parts. They can't mate with each other. They're having fertility problems. So they go to the environmentalists who love our environment so much. And they say, do you know what your birth control pills are doing to the environment? What will you do about these poor fish? They're like, well, I guess the fish have to have smaller families. Well, maybe we can give them Viagra in the water system too. That'll take care of the problem. It's like, really? Oh yeah? And we're the experts on reproductive health? Oh yeah. You know what? You know who we look to, honestly? I see the newspaper articles about the Philippines in America. And do you know what they say? I've got them in my backpack right there. Low rate of HIV in the Philippines is a puzzle. Scientists in America cannot understand why the Philippines had such a low rate. They hardly use the condom. How can they not have a bunch of AIDS? Well, they have this little thing out there called morality, okay, and that really helps. And so, understand This reproductive health thing is like beating against the cliff. Imagine the Philippines like a village on top of a cliff, and these bills are coming up, and then you're pushing them away. A couple years later, it'll come back under a different name. Oh, this is the Responsible Parenthood Bill. No, that's called Irresponsible Barrenhood. Go away. And then it washes away, and then it comes back. Oh, reproductive health. Health? Really? Breast cancer, coughing up blood, infertility, and fish that have both genitals? No, sorry, not health. And you gotta understand, this thing is going to try to erode the very foundation of your culture. And God willing, through prayer and fasting and responsible activism, we can push this thing away. But I promise you it's coming back. Fortify your politicians through prayer. I'll bet you there's even politicians, dare I say, that may even be in favor of this bill because they sincerely think it'll help the Philippines. Pray that their hearts might be open to the truth. Pray that they might be open to grace. It is the very future of your nation is at stake. We should not be leading you in that direction. The Philippines, in my opinion, is the global leader when it comes to this stuff, and we have a lot to learn from you. So, now, and they will tell you, well, you know, you're gonna need to teach safe sex to those kids in the school. If you don't teach them safe sex, oh, it's gonna be a nightmare. All these STDs, really? Big problems. Oh, they're gonna get pregnant if you don't pass out condoms in schools. How about this? Public high school, Colorado, United States, America. Let's teach safe sex. Give all the kids condoms. Passed out condoms, the whole school. Within a year, they had about 100 students pregnant on campus. It doesn't work. It's never worked. When it comes to STDs, nobody even has an idea what's going on. Everywhere I go, I ask students, what is the #1 sexually transmitted disease? And nobody knows. And I know some of you heard my talk this week. For those of you who've never heard me speak, what do you think's the #1 sexually transmitted disease? What would you say? AIDS? No. Syphilis? Gonorrhea? Herpes? No. Nobody gets it. I was in Michigan. I asked 10,000 students. Nobody knew. Philadelphia, they didn't know. I asked them in Belize, Central America, Australia, New Zealand, England. Nobody knows. They're like AIDS, chlamydia, syphilis, herpes. There's always a guy in the corner. He's like, crabs? And I go, no, it's not crabs. Stay away. But what is it? Not AIDS. HIV, the virus that leads to AIDS, is less than 1% of all the STDs in the world. #1 STD has killed more women than AIDS has, but they don't want to talk about it. It's not herpes, it's not chlamydia. Some of these are scary because when girls get STDs as teenagers, most of the time you don't know you have one. You feel fine, you don't get tested, then you get married when you're 24 and try to have a baby. The disease could have taken away your ability to have kids. This mother came up to me, Jason, will you tell those teenagers about me? I said, yeah, what? She said, Jason, She said, I got married as a virgin to a man who'd been sexually active before we met. But she said, when we got married, she said, my husband honestly didn't know he was asymptomatic, which means you don't show symptoms. She said, on our honeymoon night, she said, my husband honestly didn't know he was infected with herpes, gonorrhea, chlamydia, and human papillomavirus, and he had no symptoms. So they got married, she got herpes. Had 2 babies, they got herpes. Gonorrhea and chlamydia scarred her fallopian tubes. She's sterile, no more kids. HPV caused cervical cancer. She had to have an operation on that too. And do you know what her husband was thinking? Sleeping with other women before he met her? It's all good, because you know who? No one's getting hurt. Yeah, who's gonna be hurt? Your wife and your kids. They're gonna pay the price. #1 STD is HPV. The last one she had, human papillomavirus. 1% of people who are sexually active get genital warts from that. Most people don't get that symptom, so they think they don't have it, but it can cause cervical cancer in you girls. And this is getting so widespread in the United States. How many girls have HPV in the States? They did a study of teenage virgin girls. How many virgins in this study got HPV from the first teenage boy they slept with? 46% of the girls got it from the first teenage boy they slept with. Most of the time it goes away, but it's getting so widespread. College girls in America, 45% of college American women have HPV. How is this even possible? Scientists explain it. They've never done this before. Study the sexual activity of an entire high school. Who had sex with who? Here's they found out. Half the school, not having sex. Half the school was having sex. But here's the kicker. Half of the students who were having sex, without knowing it, were all connected to each other in a web of 288 students. 100 of them only had one partner. That's not the question. Who'd she sleep with before me? And who was he with before her? Well, they found out, mapping out the whole school, showing if you slept with someone from this campus, theoretically, you could be in bed with 1/4 of the entire student body through a single act of intercourse. This is how the thing is spreading. So why don't they talk to you about it? One basic reason: safe sex is false. It's an idea, if you put on a condom, you won't get AIDS. And you know what? It works pretty well with HIV. Risk reduction of 85%. Here's the problem: it doesn't work with HPV because the virus is spread differently from skin to skin contact. Any skin to skin sexual contact from mid-thighs to mid-abdomen area can transmit the virus, including hand to genital contact. Our government admits this. Our Centers for Disease Control says this: the scientific evidence is not enough to recommend condoms as the way to prevent HPV. I read this, I'm like, but you just taught the world safe sex for 30 years, and now you come out and admit it's medically not true? They say, well, today, we offer strategies to avoid HPV. I love this. Strategy number 1 is be abstinent, don't have sex. Okay. Strategy number 2, this is my favorite. If you choose to be sexually active and you don't want HPV, choose a partner who is not infected with HPV. Well, hey, cutting edge research. They have walked away from safe sex. They know scientifically they can't back it up. And I'm not telling you this to frighten you. You have a right to know it. If anyone ever tells you, hey, make sure to use protection next time. Protection? Yeah, go tell that to a friend of mine because he used the condom every time. And how many pregnancies did he cause? 7 of them. And how many moms did he marry? Not 1. That's not protection, it's child abuse. Real protection is purity. You protect your body, your soul, your future spouse, and kids. That's protection. Now, I hate discussing the STD stuff. So where do you go from here? Guys, girls. Ladies, girls, take off after the seminar, go to the tiny little mall next door there, and buy a white candle. Let your husband light that on your wedding night as a sign of the purity that you maintain from this day to the day he lifts your veil. On our honeymoon, my wife and I went to a place called Bora Bora in Tahiti, tropical paradise. We had an overwater bungalow, which means your hotel room is over the ocean and you have a glass floor underneath so you can see the fish. I saw an 8-foot shark swim by, and I thought that was cooler than she did, but we're sitting there and it's midnight. She says, Jason, I have a present for you. I'm like, give me it. And then I open up the box, and in it was a heart-shaped white candle with an untouched wick as a sign of the purity she's been guarding for love of me before she ever laid eyes upon me. To realize, girls, you are worth the wait. And from this point on, girls, you quit being afraid. Boys will leave you unless you give them something sexual. Girls, turn the tables and you let the boys be afraid. They're gonna lose you unless they know how to respect you. And girls will be like, but Jason, there's no good guys out there. Jason, guys are jerks. Jason, guys are pigs. They're dogs. They're giraffes. They're antelope. You know. 3 girls in Philadelphia came up to me and said, Jason, guys are jerks. I go, no, there's lots of good guys. And they're like, guys are jerks. And I'm like, whoa, issues. I'm like, easy, tiger. And I asked her, I go, look, you dating anyone? She's like, yeah. I go, well, tell me about him. And we talked for an hour and a half. And she finally admitted, he is a drug dealer. He swears a lot, drinks a lot. He's cheated on her, and her parents hate him. But I couldn't figure out why. Parents are so unfair. And then the next girl jumps in. She goes, Jason, all guys are jerks. I said, no, there's so many good gentlemen out there. I meet them all the time. She goes, they're all jerks. She said, we were at a party 3 weeks ago, and these guys came up behind a girl, and they poured a beer on her head. She's a girl. 2 weeks ago, same party, they poured a beer on another girl's head. Last weekend, same party, they poured a beer on another girl's head. See, guys are jerks. I'm like, girls, what are you doing this weekend? They're like, oh, we're going to the party. And I'm like, okay, well, let's try to figure out where your problem's coming from. That's why I beg you girls to set the standard high, because it's the patient girl that gets the prize. And girls say, but Jason, what if I find a good man? He said, I like him, but my parents don't think I should date, or they don't like this guy. What am I supposed to do? I'll tell you one high school couple I know, seniors that fell in love, and they started writing love letters to each other. Instead of just texting, handwriting all their love letters back and forth. They stacked up over 100 pages of love letters. And one day, the boy's hanging out at the girl's house, and the dad says, hey, young man, he said, what is this I hear about you having such strong feelings for my daughter? And the kid's like, oh, dude, your daughter, she's the most amazing, beautiful thing that God ever made on earth, and I can think I'm gonna spend the rest of my life. And dad's like, hey, I agree. She is the most beautiful thing God ever made, but I'd really rather she focus on getting ready for college and focusing on herself instead of dating right now. And the boy saw the wisdom of what he was saying and, agreed to honor him. But his feelings were so strong for this girl, he didn't keep to his word. And he started dating her secretly behind the dad's back. And the boy said to the girl, he said, you know what? I can't do this to your dad. He said, I really do respect your father, and if he were to ever find out that we're doing this stuff, man, that would kill all the trust. It just wouldn't be right. But before they could tell the dad the truth, the dad caught them lying, and the whole thing was destroyed. And they were crying. It was a huge mess. And the boy said to the dad, he said, my feelings for your daughter are so strong, I can't just be friends with her. I've either got to have a relationship or nothing at all. So if I can't date her, I'm going to ask her to give back to me all the love letters I ever gave to her. And she handed them over, and he said goodbye. They didn't get to say goodbye when they went off to college, but that night, he came back to her house. And in the middle of the night, he buried in her front lawn a shoebox on the ground, buried a shoebox filled with all the love letters they had written. And he buried the box underground, and then he looked up to her house at night, and he said, God, if it's your will to bring me back to this girl, I know you're going to do that. But God, if you have someone better in the world for her than I am, then God, all I want is what's best for her, and I trust you. And he left. 2 years, long years went by, and then his telephone rang in his dorm in college, and it was the girl's dad. And the dad's like, son, do you remember me? And he's like, yeah, I remember you. And the dad said, he said, I'll never forget the mark you left on my family, that you had so much integrity to let go of my daughter when I know she meant the whole world to you. To trust in my father's love for my daughter, he said, that took a lot of integrity to stick by your word these 2 years. And he said, I honor that. And he said, I'd be honored to have a son like you in our family one day. So if you'd like to court my daughter, I know she's more than happy and ready. And he was thrilled, called up the girl. They started dating again. They dated for a year and a half. And then on Christmas morning, he had a little surprise to give her. And the whole family knew it was going to happen. And she's excited. She's like, oh, what is this? And she opens up a little box. And inside, it says a red maple tree. And she's like, oh, it's a tree. I really wanted a tree for Christmas, honey. And he said, yeah, I thought you liked the tree. And he says, why don't we go plant the tree? And she's like, no, it's like 30 degrees, it's snow. He found the box, pulled off the lid, and then he pulled out the final letter he had ever written to her, which she had never seen before, which was his marriage proposal. And on one knee, he asked her to be his bride, and today the two are married and raising a family together. God honors those who honor him. And I know it's tough, but the fact is it works. And one thing, as women, I would ask you girls to do for each other, build what's going on in that girl's home. You don't know what's going on in her life. You take the labels off and give people the freedom to start over if they want to. Guys, where do you go from here? Guys can have different reactions to a chastity talk. First reaction is like make fun of it and blow it off. Girls, you don't know this. In high school and college, we want to impress you, but I'm sorry, we'd rather impress the guys sometimes. And if I think that those guys will look down on me as not a man if I'm being pure, then I'll just be quiet about my values and just melt into the rest of the guys. But what's needed from a man is authenticity. Chastity demands this. You can't be one guy on Saturday night and a different guy Sunday in church. One guy in front of her parents and their backs are turned, you become somebody else. It demands you have no duplicity. What's needed? Authenticity. We were at a school, they had the best basketball team in America. And after the talk, the star of the team came up to me. This guy's like 11 feet tall. And he walks up, he's like, yo, can we talk in the back? And I'm like, yes, come with me. And I took his hand and we went back here. I'm like, what's going on up there? He goes, man, he's like, be honest with you? He's like, He's like, I've been with so many girls, I've done so much stuff. He's like, He's like, I knew every time I was killing her, but she wanted it, I wanted it. Half the time I was drunk, I just blamed it on the beer. And he goes, nowadays, he said, girls are more aggressive than the guys half the time. Oh, you should see the nasty text messages they're sending around school. And he said, but after your talk, he goes, it's different. He goes, I want to be faithful to my wife before I meet her. He goes, I don't want to get married, giving my wife all these memories I have of teenage girls I'll never see again when I graduate. He's like, but how do you start over when you've been where I've been? He said, when you're with the girl and she says she's ready for sex, how do you say no to that? I said, look, if she thinks she's ready for sex and she's not ready to be a mom, she's got no clue what she's talking about. In Boston, 7th grade boy came up to me. Jason, my girlfriend and I have talked and we're ready. I'm like, he's 12. I'm like, ready? I go, are you ready to be a father? And he's like, well, no, just for sex. And after explaining to him the shocking connection they discovered between the two, I said, look, you know I'm married, I got a couple little kids. I go, you know what you don't know about me? Is that our first baby has had so many medical problems. He's had to be in all these different hospitals. And the first 2 years of being a new dad, I spent $30,000 in medical bills on him so I'd have the best doctors on earth taking care of my sick boy. And you got what it takes to be a good father. You ready for sex? He opens up his wallet, shows me his money. He's like, I have $5. And I'm like, buy her a pizza. I mean, if you love her, you prepare and you sacrifice. And I'll grant you, this is not easy, but purity is a gift from Jesus Christ, and he'll give it to you if you ask for it. Where do you ask for it? Confession. Go get it. Sacrament of reconciliation, go. Some people are like, oh no, I'm not going to confession. What if I tell the priest what I did? It's like, what do you think, you invented a sin in the Philippines or something? And he's like, what did you say? I've never heard of that before. Let me call the Vatican. I think we've got a new sin in the Philippines. Like, trust me, dude. He's heard it before. And I asked a priest once, Father, what's it like when students come to you and you thought they were all good and then you found out they made big mistakes? Does that change the way you look at them? And the priest said, honestly, it does. He said, because after confession, I begin to look up to them, because they care more about what God thinks about them than what man thinks about them. And he said, that is humility, and as a priest, I admire that. Go to confession. Today, there's gonna be about 5 priests. That should be enough to handle 10,000 confessions. And so just make 5 lines of 2,000 people, and go to the sacrament today. Get the slate wiped clean. Teenagers as well as adults. Teenagers, if you can't drive to confession, go to your dad. Hey, say, Dad, will you take me to confession? And say, hey, Dad, when was the last time you went to confession? He'll be like, oh, I was 12. It's like, Dad, that's unacceptable. You're going too. Bring the family. Go to confession. You get made new. You don't just get your sins taken away. Confession gives you an ocean of graces to avoid those sins in the future. Go, get made new. Don't run from mercy. Second thing to stay strong is the Eucharist. Never leave the Mass. My wife and I go to Mass every day because every grace I need to love my bride, I get straight from the most blessed sacrament. Third thing was big for me was devotion to Our Lady, the Rosary. As a guy, you look at porn, it'll take 5 seconds to look at porn, and I'm telling you, it'll feel like it takes 15 years to forget what you saw. So for me, it was devotion to the Virgin that taught me how to look at a girl again. So get that rosary, and I would recommend always keep one in your pocket. It'll always remind you to pray. And to help you live out this lifestyle, we have launched for you a website. Because I know after my talk, you have questions. You're wondering, well, when should I start dating? How do I know if he loves me? How do I know if I'm infected with HDTV? Or what is that virus again? Well, how do I know that? So what we did is launched the website chastity.com, chastity.com. When you get there, click the button Facebook. If you want to go to our Facebook, click the button that says YouTube. When you click the button YouTube, you'll find videos of me, my wife, America's Next Top Model, a National Football League quarterback, all talking about chastity. Put these things on your Facebook. Put them in your tweets. Evangelize your friends and let us do the talking. And the website, chastity.com. We also have books, DVDs, resources. We brought some of them today. We can't sell them because we couldn't bring enough to actually sell because how much it costs to fly them on the plane over here. But I'll just run down a couple of things that we got there if you're interested. Newest one, super happy about. My wife and I for 5 years have been working on one book for girls, and it just came out on Valentine's Day, and it's called How to Find Your Soulmate Without Losing Your Soul, 21 Secrets for Women. Now, if we weren't able to bring out a bunch of these, we're gonna be donating them to a bunch of the high schools and colleges, but if you do want one, on the back, there's these little cards, back there, they're gonna be sitting, I think, at a table over here, and it has the website, howtofindyoursoulmate.com. You can get the books, or you could get it at chastity.com. Other books, I wrote If You Really Love Me. It's the top 100 questions about dating and chastity. We also did a prayer book called Pure Faith. In fact, I don't need to carry these back on the plane. I'll give out free ones. Who wants a prayer book? So here's a prayer book right there. So, it's gonna leave a mark. If You Really Love Me is the question with a Q&A book for guys, so there you go. And this is the How to Find Your Soulmate. You're a boy. You don't need it. So there you go. Whoa, oh my. That does. Then this one is for parents. Yeah, you better put your hands down, girl. It's called Raising Pure Teens. I won't throw it that far. I'll put some parents' eye out. And then we have a whole curriculum called Theology of the Body for Teens. And we're going to donate all this to a school. But all that stuff is on the website, chastity.com, if you're interested in that stuff. But the best thing I have to give all of you is this. As of today, I have thousands of people praying for you. The audiences I spoke to this week, most of them I asked, would you pray for all the students and people we speak to this week in the Philippines? My wife and I have been praying for you. I sent out a message on Facebook to over 2,000 people. Will you please, it was actually 3,000 people this morning. Put on Facebook, would you guys all please pray for the people we'll be speaking to today in Manila? They're praying for you. I've written letters to over 100 convents of nuns. That's like the ammunition of the church right there. I asked for their prayers. I even wrote a letter several years ago to Pope John Paul II. He had all these nuns that got his mail. It's kind of like the elves at the North Pole, it's the same concept. And wrote a letter and got confirmation from the Vatican that John Paul the Great did, and I know still does, pray for the people we speak to. And all I ask in return is if you would please pray for my wife and I, our family, and our ministry and the spiritual protection of that, and also for all the students we speak to. Every year it's about 100,000. And I ask your prayers not just for them and me, but it's for you. Because if you're gonna get married, you know I could speak to your future husband or wife one day. You never know what lifestyle they could be in. In fact, I know a girl 15 years old, one night said, I'm gonna pray for my future husband. And she prayed and went to bed. Years later, they met and married. She said, honey, I prayed for you when I was 15. And he's like, oh, thanks. And she says, look, there is my diary. I prayed for you that night. He said, I used to have a journal back then. Let me see what I was doing. Finds his journal, dusted off. He goes, that's the year I was in the war, because he was a veteran. She said, what does it say that night? He said, honey, the night you prayed for me was the night the enemy troops came in our line. They slaughtered almost every man I was with, and they spared me. So, thanks for your prayers. Prayers are good. Prayers are good. And I ask your prayers. And I know today, I said a lot to you about future husband and wife. Some of you are being called to a higher vocation. Some of you girls are being called to religious life, to be a bride of Christ. Don't be afraid of that, especially if you're looking for the perfect man. Trust me, you can find him in the convent. Guys, some of you are being called to the priesthood. Do not be afraid to give yourself completely to him who has already given himself completely to you. I've said a lot today about boyfriend and girlfriend. And I know that most of you right now do not have a boyfriend, do not have a girlfriend. Good. Good for you. Don't be like me. I started dating when I was 11 years old. One girl back then actually broke up with me because I forgot I was dating her. I was like, high maintenance, but you're under this pressure. You don't have a boyfriend? You don't have a girlfriend? It's ridiculous. You have so much time to find love. A 12-year-old boy came up to me. Jason, I have a relationship problem. Can you help me? I'm like, yeah, what's going on? He goes, here's the situation. He goes, I dated a girl for 3 years, and it was really serious. And then I took a year off, and now I like another girl she's friends with, so I don't know what to do. He's talking, I'm doing math in my head. Okay, this guy is 12, and he just took a year off of a 3-year serious relationship, which means the guy was 8 years old in a serious relationship. I'm thinking, like, what are you guys even doing on dates together? Watching, like, Blue's Clues or something? Like, what do you fight about? Well, I want Dora the Explorer. I want Diego. I mean, dude, you got time to find love. Take the time. Last thing is this. I know if I could say anything to you, this would probably just be it. That if after hearing my talk today, maybe your heart is heavy and you know you have some thinking to do, or if you ever fall in the future, all you need to know is one thing, and that's how God looks at you for doing that stuff. And this is how he sees you. There's a dad a few years ago, dropped his son off at preschool in Armenia. And he said, I love you, I'll pick you up after school. Promise, come get you. Dad drove to work. Huge earthquake struck Armenia. The dad shoots the car back to the school. It's too late. The school's collapsed, faculty's dead. Dad shows up. He said, I know my son is in the corner of that school. Starts tearing off the rocks and the glass. He dug for an hour, 5 hours. His knuckles bleeding open. His back is cramped up. He dug for 10 hours. Like you guys, fathers, one day, you dig for your kid forever. 30 hours. He said, all I was thinking when I dug for my son is the promise that I had always made to him. No matter what happens, you know that I'm always gonna be there for you. 38 hours later, shoves off some board, looks underneath it, and there's the face of his son. And his son looked up to his dad and said, "Papa." And his son turned to 14 kids trapped alive with him, and he said, "See? Told you my daddy was coming to get me. I told you that he promised." This is the love of God. It doesn't matter where you're at, he is right here to welcome you home. You guys have been an awesome audience. Thank you very much, guys. God bless you. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Mahali Kokayo. Is that I love you? Yeah, love you guys.
Thank you so much, sir. So we have something here for you from the Catalyst organization. So let's give him another round of applause, guys. Yes. Thank you so much. I actually caught your book. I dove for it, yeah? So that's how good it is. And flowers, since it's Valentine's somewhat. After all. Thank you, thank you. Again, guys, let's give him a big round of applause. He's going home today after all. So, we still have a few surprises left for you. I mean, since you're all still hyped up, how about a dance number, yeah? Are you excited? I can't seem to hear you guys. Come on, are you excited? So, with no other further delays, I present to you four, well, very handsome gentlemen who are going to give you a little something to be excited for. Please welcome with a round of applause the University of Asia and the Pacific Squadra.
You can't make up your mind. Please don't waste my time. I'm not trying to rewind. Oh yeah, I wish our hearts could come together as one. Shawty is a eeny, meeny, miny, mo lover. Shawty is a eeny, meeny, miny, mo lover. Shawty is a eeny, meeny, miny, mo lover. Shawty is a eeny, meeny, miny, mo lover.
Round of applause.
Magandang maga sa inyo lahat. It is morning. Why? Because we're talking about something that the Lord wants us to talk about. And when you're doing the work of the Lord, the sun is always rising. So, good morning to everyone. Nandito ako to share to you something about what Jason shared. No? Siguro, I want to start with a story. I got this from the book of Theology of the Body by Father Hasson. Meron daw isang pare, American priest. He was appointed parish priest of Payatas. And when he was assigned there, sabi niya, the first sermon I'm going to give will be in Tagalog. So pinag-aralan niya yung Tagalog. After 6 months, marunong siya mag-Tagalog, and he was on the way to the parish for his first mass. Ang sabi niya, ang sermon na bibigay ko sa kanila is about prayer. Because sa hirap ng buhay nila, they should really always pray. So as he was walking, kumpleto na yung kanyang talk, nakalimutan niya yung salitang prayer in Tagalog. Lahat alam niya na, except for the word prayer, he forgot the Tagalog word for it. So papunta na sa simbahan, merong nagiinom ang mga lasenggo dun sa sari-sari store, at tinanong niya, excuse me bro, ano ba sa Tagalog yung salitang prayer? Sabi nung laseng, Father, ano yan eh? Alam ko yan eh. Kwan yan. Kwan yan eh. Yung sabi niya, thank you bro, thinking the word for prayer is kwan. Kamo, meron na kayong kagad iniisip. So nung nag-sermon siya, sabi niya sa kanyang mga parishioners, mga kapatid, alam ko tayo hirap, kaya kailangan wag niyong makalimutan parating nagkukwan. Sa umaga, pag nagising kayo, magkwan kayo. Ha? Sa tanghalian, magkwan din. At sa gabi, bago matulog, magkwan pa rin. So sabi ng isang lay minister, excuse me, Father, baka naman siguro kapag nagkukwan kami 3 times a day, baka mamatay kami. Sabi ni Father, mabuti pinaalala mo sa akin yan, mahalagang mahalaga, bago ka mamatay, magkwan ka muna. It's a funny story. Pero ano ibig sabihin nun? Ang ganda ng message niya, it's about prayer. But because he got the wrong word for prayer, nawala lahat ng mensahe. And that is what is happening to the youth today. They forgot all about the sacredness of sex. Bakit? Nakuha nilang ibig sabihin from the drunkards of media. You guys have been bombarded with sex to the point na you think sex is just something you can enjoy. No? Kaya okay lang. Total, safe naman. Basta as long as you avoid pregnancy and you avoid sexually transmitted disease, okay lang. What's your hang-up? What's your problem? Or worse, kamukha nung anak ko. Yung anak ko, when she was 16 years old, doon ako natatauhan eh. How the youth has lost the meaning of sex. Because, we had a good dinner. My wife cooked a good dinner. And after dinner, dinala namin yung plato sa kitchen. And as I was putting the plates, maglilinis kami nung I'm very appreciative of my wife, and I told her, thank you so much for a wonderful dinner. And I kissed her, and I said, we really enjoyed that dinner. When I kissed her, ang bango. Galing sa shower. So sabi ko sa asawa ko, ang bango mo naman, mamayang gabi ha. Biniro ko, niloko ko. I did not know my 16-year-old daughter was behind me following with the glasses. When my 16-year-old daughter heard me say that, ang sabi ng daughter ko, yak papa, kadiri ka talaga. Sabi ko, darling, bakit? I didn't know you're there. Why? Kadiri ka talaga. Bakit? I know what you meant, sabi niya. What did I mean, darling? Ayoko nga sabihin. No. You tell me what I meant. Sabi niya, sex, yak. Sabi ng daughter ko. Sabi ko sa kanya, darling, okay, assuming that is what I meant, sex with your mom. Assuming. I did not say it was. But sabi ko, assuming it was. Tanong ko sa kanya, sabi ko, darling, and I want to ask each and every one of you, including the parents, including the adults at the back. Sabi ko sa anak ko, darling, kung hindi kami nag-sex ng mama mo, mabubuhay ka kaya? Kayo, bakit kayo nandito? Kasi po, yung aming parents, they fell in love. What else? Oh, they got married. What else? Oh, they live together. What else? What did your parents do para mabuhay ka? Ano? What did they do? Ha? Nag-holding hands? Ano? Nag-sex, nagkwan. Pag hindi sila nagkwan, kahit na nagmahalan yan, hindi ka mabubuhay. It's simple to see sex is the door to life. And that's what I told my daughter, darling, if the sex with, yung sex namin ng mama mo, kung yak yan, ikaw, double yak. Bakit? Ikaw yung resulta eh.